So, and I'm live on YouTube. So, let me see. Comments. Can I make a comment on this? Oh, maybe down here. I am. I'm going to do at everyone. And welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, man. Oh. Just went for a walk with the puppers. Took her to the dog park today. Yeah. It was an off leash dog park, but my dog doesn't go off leash because she just she's not she's not the best to puppies to go off leash. But we walked along the little path, found a little pathway I didn't even know about in my neighborhood. That was so cool. And have come home, and now she's laying down somewhere. It was good. It was good. It got me going up and down some hills, so that's even better. So got the body moving. So I got some moving this morning, and the dog got to go out for a walk, and it's nice. It's warm out. A bit humid, not too much, but it is nice. I thought it would be. It's funny because some mornings are not as good morning, Charlene, not as warm. So yeah, but today it was nice. Got the dog out. She got to do her duty. As my mother would say, to God, and it's God and King and country now, not God and Queen and country, to God and King and country. So she did her duty to God and King and country. What an old saying is that? Today is going to be another wonderfully dramatic day. Yes, lots of drama today. Drama, drama, drama. We have Chiron. Yes, yes, half horse, half man. Chiron, the wounded healer, the shaman, the warrior has moved into Taurus. Ah! So, yeah, so that is going to be um that's going to bring in some new energy for some time now, with Chiron going into Taurus. Now we all know the story of Ferdinand. Ferdinand the bull. Ferdinand just wanted to just hang out in his bullpen or in a field and just chill. That's all he wanted to do. He didn't want to do anything else. I mean, it sounds very Taurian. Just wants to hang out, just have the stuff that he likes to have around and just chill. That's Taurus, right? This is the way it's going. This is what I like. Typical Earth. Typical Earth. This is the way I like it. Don't disturb my shit. I like it this way. This is the way I have it. And he sat on a bee. Well, you know, we know how that ended up. So that's my description of Chiron and Taurus. You like the way your shit is going, and Chiron's going to come in and muck it all up. Yes, it is. It's going to muck it all up. So be careful of sitting on a bee. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one with the energies coming in. I did up an oracle card. So it's up there on my Facebook. It's Chiron and Taurus, the healing of self-worth. I no longer seek worth through perfection or approval, and my value is not earned. My value is not earned. It is remembered. Remembered. Your value is remembered. Very Taurus, right? So we're here to not here to become someone else. We're here to remember who we are. That's the motto. So you're not here. The thing is, with this energy that's coming in, if you are embracing the truth of who you are, it doesn't matter what the fuck anybody else thinks. We get hung up on, oh, what about this and what about that? And what do they say, if I do this? If you embrace, I don't know, your seaweed on your hair, if you embrace seaweed on your hair, and you say, I just love wearing seaweed on my hair. This is the next best thing. Then people are going to accept your seaweed on your hair, you know? Maybe they'll wear seaweed on their hair because they see you wearing seaweed on your hair and you're just like, yeah, this is it. It's like the in my younger days, I mean, it must be my old wisdom coming in. In my younger days, I used to, oh man, the torture of being accepted was real. To be liked, to have a boyfriend. Like, I never had a boyfriend in high school. Well, I wasn't allowed one. But, the idea that a boy likes you kind of thing, and wanting that acceptance, wanting to be loved, wanting to be seen, right? And people are seen all the time now, you know? They do crazy things just to be seen. But it's do they love themselves as they're being seen? That's the question, right? You see many of these guys who've made it big on YouTube, and then they're finally like, "Oh, well, that was kinda crazy. I'm just going to actually do what I really love doing," and, you know, and they continue on from there, and I feel that's it. Just do what you love to do, um, and embrace it. Right? I mean, I love astrology. I love doing the astrology. I love showing up and doing lives and I have a few ideas of different projects that I want to do. Learned new things, which is kind of cool. And just stepping forward into that, right? I learned today that I can't do live on the Guru Mama because I don't have enough followers, which is kinda like, "Oh, well, that's fine." But then I thought, I used to have a lot of followers on the Guru Mama before the page got taken down. But you know what? It is what it is now. You can't dwell on it or go back on that, right? So that's the important thing. So we have 7 years in Aries. That's what he was. And now Chiron finally leaves Aries and enters Taurus. And this is a big shift, right? And and it's one of the biggest shifts of 2026, and you can feel that something fundamentally is changing. Since 2019, Chiron's been in Aries, and that's where you got who am I? Am I allowed to be myself? Who do I feel? Why do I feel unseen or misunderstood? And why do I keep fighting for my identity? Does that make sense? What's been happening the last 7 years? And then put Neptune and Pisces in there, that brings in a whole bunch of delusions on who you are, what you think you can be. That whole delusional energy came in, and looking at your truth of of your self-worth. Now entering Taurus, do I truly value myself? Not because of what I own, right? Not because of what others think, not because how perfect I may appear, right? But because you exist. Yeah. And as Chiron enters Taurus, the healing moves from identity into the physical world. So, this is going to be about money, security, beauty, self worth, values, and what we create. And many people may become hyper aware of what they lack. Whew. Doing comparisons and insecurity and perfectionism and not enough stories, can become loud. That's what Chiron and Taurus. So these mantras might start to play out in your life in some way. This is where Chiron doesn't heal through becoming more aware, like becoming more. It heals through acceptance, right? Not I need to fix myself. But why do I believe I'm not already enough? That's a big one. And that's what I do. That's my thing, right? I want people to step into their identity of the truth of who they are and embrace it. And embracing it doesn't mean that you become an egotistical asshole, right? Embracing it means I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, and if I fail, well, maybe there's another way I can create, or maybe, something new will come in, and not take that failure, or when it didn't work out, as a something that's wrong with me, right? I mean, we look at there's a young guy who goes around and he interviews billionaires and millionaires, and he asks them, um, were you always did you come from a rich family? 90%, 95% of them all said no. They did not come from a rich family. Some are they know we came from very poor beginnings. My dad was a welder, my mom was a teacher, or something along that. But I, you know, wanted something more. One guy that he interviewed, and I love it, and he goes, he worked for a corporation and became the CEO eventually. Started off as a worker, worked for the company for over 18 years, something like that, 20 years. And he said, and it was a big financial company, a big financial firm. He didn't name what the firm was, which is fine. But what he said, he goes, "Well, what's one thing that made you stick out from the 40,000 employees that this place employs, right? To become the CFO." And he said, "I went to my boss every day and asked, told him I was done for the day, did everything I, was to do, and asked him, 'Was there anything that you needed done before I leave?'" Asked him every single day. Some days he didn't get anything. Other days were, "Oh, yeah, here." And the thing is that what he learned is that the things that his boss gave him were, excuse me, actual work that the boss would have done, the guy in charge would have done. Now, when it came to a promotion, or it came to something, and his boss asked him, "Do you know of any who do you think we should promote?" He was the first one in line, right? And that, I feel, is like kind of like the motto that we should be looking at, where many people, especially in jobs, is like, "Well, is there anything else I can do before I leave?" You know? And asking, "What else could I be doing? Is there anything else I could learn? Is there something new I can do?" And I think those are questions we need to ask our own selves. What else could I be doing? What are the other things that I could be doing? And the other thing, in listening to this young man, is that each one of those, they learned about financing. Now you hear me talk about that, and I've always been fascinated by financing and investments, and but this is here's full disclosure. I was going to start investing years ago, and when my family was young, and one of the people that I worked with started working with a financial firm as a personal assistant. And I thought, "Oh, could you, of this firm?" And um I wanted to learn about investing, but I said, "I don't have a lot of money." And so she goes, "Well, let me ask my boss." And then she said that her boss basically laughed at me. And I, through my own insecurities of who my Cancerian energy can make you very insecure of yourself, right? Didn't invest because I just wanted to know, what can I do with $20 or something like that? And she goes, "Well, you need a hell of a lot more money than that to invest." And that's what really made me not want to. But I feel like today there's ways of doing it, you know? I'm not sure how, but I feel like there is, where people can, and it's not just putting $5 in like, many times people, they used to put it in a big, old nabob, tin, and people would put their money in a nabob tin. A lot of my mom's friends grew up in the Depression. Like my parents grew up in the Depression. My parents were born in 1919 and 1924. They were they were kind of like the baby boomers at the end of World War One, and went through World War Two. So for them, when they about the banks and everything, they didn't trust the banks. I mean, a lot of people don't trust the banks now, but where they would put their money in a nabob tin, right? And then put it away, or have a um kind of have different like a book that was a locker kind of thing, and hide it. We had neighbors whose husband who used to hide the nabob tins in the backyard and bury them in the backyard because he didn't want the government to know how much money he had, kind of thing. But what I'm saying is like it's like going back to that idea of investing a little bit amount. I feel like you can do that today. So how it's done is going to take a little bit of investment, but that's what Chiron in Taurus is. Chiron in Taurus talks about the muggle world, the mundane world, and the healing. And the thing is that a lot of people are going to come up with lack. Now I just saw probably if there is, that they'd be the old ones, but they're dying out. Like they're not going to be around, right? I'm talking about young people in their 40s and 50s. I don't think would be thinking about doing things like that, right? Because a lot of people in their 40s and 50s didn't have to go through um, a depression and a world war yet, you know. So I don't know if this younger generation would, maybe some of the old guys, but if they're in their 80s and still doing that, I'd really want to know where the fuck the money is before they die. Because it might be like one of those Roman things that you find 100 years later, and you find all this money that's probably not going to be worth a hell of a lot anymore. But anyways, I feel like there's ways for us to start doing that or looking into it, kind of thing, you know. And Chiron, it's about this world. It's about where it's because it's the wounded man, it's the wounded healer, right? He sacrificed himself in front of Zeus to have immortality. And in that immortality, it's like, how am I going to feel more worthy of myself? And that's where Chiron and Taurus is about. Having the value, looking at the value of yourself, right? And not the lack. And I feel, and I really honestly, and I've stressed this, and it's funny, it came up in quite a few readings, especially the Six of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles coming up for people. It's about this world. It's about your money and your money situation and the value that you hold with money and your thoughts around that, the prosperity and the money, right? It's And then I watched a whole thing with let me see if I can bring it up. It was Arlene had it. I don't know if I'll be able to bring it up again. Arlene, she's she's my little controversy. I mean, you want controversy, she's worse than I am. She came up, she just posted this about the 48 First Nations receiving extraordinary levels of support. And participating bands have taken over $2 billion from the FNDF since 2006 alone, and backed by part of 24 to 30 billion annually more in federal transfers for the government's education, health, housing, plus tax exemptions on the reserve income and purchases, non insured health benefits, dedicated schooling, and housing programs. With resources of this scale following through band councils, these communities should be among the most prosperous and well served in the entire province. I know the Blackfoot, the Blood Nation South, right, is very wealthy. It's a very wealthy reserve. It looks really good when you go on there. They do have a university, a college university on there, but it's still very poor. Like the people on there are not um you would think with what they have and the land that they have and the prospect that they have, the people that live there would have better opportunities at education, getting their education. But in that area, and especially in southern Alberta, is ridden with drugs and alcohol, right? And it's horrible. FN needs to know how to maintain the things they get bad. They get more funding and just pull it down and rebuild. There's no accountability, and Chiron coming into to Taurus is a time where we are going to be discovering that you have to have accountability, right? The wounds are going to be coming up, and that's where, having that understanding or an education is the key, but you got to educate starting at the young. You can't educate the old because, it's starting to educate the young, and it's going to take time in doing that. And when we start to look at how can we educate, how can we create this abundance, not only, the thing is, it's like it's not only the financial, but it's the spiritual abundance as well, and creating and understanding, because many times people will go the spiritual route, and you find that a lot in spiritual communities, where when you do some markets, that you will find that a lot of these people who do markets have no money, right? Their spiritual worth doesn't equivalate their monetary worth, right? So they don't feel like they should obtain, to have that wealth, that prominence. There's few that do. We see like Louise Hayes, Doreen Virtue did it hugely. It's This is where the things are like sort of like there's part of this shift that comes in. And while we're on the topic of reconciliation, only happens when it comes from both sides. They need to be pushed into society from the res. The res doesn't help them. No, the res does not help them. It does not. Um, it does not. And the thing is with this, with modern, this is with the reserve, going back on that, with modern housing, without crowding, strong educational outcome, solid employment, and real economic opportunities. Instead, the results are damning. Inter, in, I can't say that word, of failure. So there's failure in this. On the reserve, housing remains badly overcrowded for over a third of the residents. And the thing is that people will leave a house and then a whole bunch of people will move in, right? There's poverty and low income rates, and that stay dramatically higher than the provincial average, and that shouldn't be. Not with the amount of money that goes in. Employment and medium incomes on the reserve, status First Nations lag significantly behind off reserves Indigenous people of, over Albertans. The community and well-being gap has narrowed modestly, and despite federal Indigenous spending nearly tripling in a decade. It's not acceptable. After decades of escalating transfers and special benefits, it's a shortfall, right? Directly to poor governance, lack of accountability, and a broken incentives at the band council level. It goes to the blame of, because it's run like a fucking cartel, right? And it's funny when I worked, it's they all know each other, or depending what reserve that they're from, and um it's 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 an interesting world, I'll say. Um, and the benefits that I see that they could get are there for, if they really want to go out and do it. Uh, I pulled up when I was working at Manitoba, and a few of them were talking about, well, they wanted to do different businesses, and I said, and I pulled up all of this information for them, and I said, just go on chat, just go on Google, and you'll see grants galore that they could easily apply for and receive. The amount of money and payouts they get in and around Christmas time are crazy. Are just fucking crazy. And you and they're all coming in and spending thousands of dollars on Christmas, and then for the rest of the year they'll have nothing, basically. I was disappointed when I moved to Canada from New Zealand. Yeah, I wanna see them thriving too. Uh, Depending on the reserve, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's more. I had one girl come in, and her payout for being Métis, because the Métis in Saskatchewan hold over, I think, close to $1 billion, like 3/4 of $1 billion, and that's through all sorts of revenue that has come in for them, right? And it's if you think about it, you don't learn good habits for future generations. Zero changes. Exactly. No, exactly. And I feel, this Taurus and Chiron is that bee that stung Ferdinand, and things are just gonna go apeshit for it. And now, well, just say in Alberta here, starting July 1st, you can go apply for $100. So Steve and I would qualify for $200. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, that's nice. It's a one-time thing, a one-time thing. I'm thinking, one, I don't think it's enough if that's what they're going to do, right? With the amount of revenue and everything that comes into Alberta, and the amount of money that Alberta pays out to other provinces, that should start turning around and paying their people here first, who live here and pay taxes, right? Before it starts being sent out to Ontario and Quebec and other places, right? It's just a thought. But again, it's poor governance, right? It's poor governance. I have a lot of opinions on this topic because I grew up with my native yeah, definitely. And they're here, aren't authentic. Things here aren't. It's You know what? When I worked at Manitoba, it was an interesting insight to First Nations, right? I grew up in Penticton. I grew up around First Nations. There I wasn't far. I mean, Kamloops is not far from Penticton, so there were people from the reserve that did go to the Kamloops school. Now, the Kamloops school, with the First Nations I was around in Penticton, they wanted their children to go there. They wanted their children to get a better education, right? They could send them to the schools in the area if you weren't living on the reserve, um, but not many did. Not many did. Um, as a young person, didn't really think about it, right? Um, when I was growing up. My dad did a lot of work on the reserve. We were on the reserve quite a bit. He worked with the uh, the chief in doing different things and organizing different uh things with through the church, because my dad was Catholic, so through the Catholic Church and stuff, where they wanted to make the reserve a dry reserve, so no alcohol or drugs were allowed on the reserve. And that was a battle to do that. But I think when I last known, I don't know if it still is, that the Penticton Reserve is a dry reserve, so I don't know if it still is. And then same with the one down in Oliver. The one down in Oliver reserve was run by this I can't remember his name. He used to come into Starbucks all the time, and in Penticton, and he really worked hard to create an investment opportunities for his reserve and made it, financially wealthy, through the vineyards and stuff like that, and opened a winery and the whole bit, and did a huge education to his reserve. Same with West Kelowna. West Kelowna, West Bank, is mainly on leased land from the reserve. And they built a business from that, right? They also built one of the First Nations banks, so that people of First Nations could get a mortgage, right? Gerald knows the owner of Manitoba Mucklucks. Nothing good was said. It's, I mean, it's interesting because it is a company that, I mean, he's got investors. He's got huge investors. He's got Nike investing, right? He's got a CEO from Nike who is the CFO or whatever you want to call it on the board, right? So it's there's a lot of money in there. That's why they do pop-ups. They only do pop-ups, and they do very well at the pop-ups. I don't think they lose any money with the pop-ups. And then anything that's not sold comes back out again next year, right? So they don't really lose money per se. And then just, hire staff, and you're just there to basically hold the fort down until they close it down. Or they come in and close it down, and that's what they did to me. They came in and closed it down because it was just too much drama. But that's the thing, is like, here we have Chiron coming into Taurus astrologically. So he's coming into a earth sign, and coming into this earth sign is really going to disrupt a lot of the stability, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus wants nice things, and she wants to hold nice things, right? So we have this energy of what do you value? What are you valuing in your life, right? And bringing into your life. And we're going to be seeing it. Now, the reason why I brought up the things about the First Nation is because it's coming up in the papers right now. There's a lot of talk up here in Canada about First Nations. First Nations in the States, it's a whole different kettle of fish. They don't get what our people do in Canada at all. Some reserves do extremely well. Other reserves do not in the States. And the history in the States is horrific, right? Same with up here in Canada, it's horrific. The thing is that in the States, it's like, it's almost like they go, shit happens, you know? As horrible as that sounds, it's like, shit happens, figure it out. And many of the people of young men have fought in World War One, Vietnam War, the Korean War, Afghanistan. They fought for their country. They believe in the United States, right? So yeah, we have foreign interference with our chiefs. Oh yeah, I can't believe the First Nations in Canada, but we need an audit. Oh, we need a fucking audit, big time. Big time. You're telling me, okay, you're telling me, the water situation, and you hear it all the time. "Oh, the water's so bad. The water's so bad." Money has gone to the reserves to fix the water. Where the fuck has the money gone? Where's it gone? Bull fucking shit. Because there's no reason for any of that. There's no reason for any of the reserves to live in such squalor. And people will say, well, it's their situation, it's generational, it's blah, 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 blah. Well, if you keep throwing that on every fucking generation, right? Throw it on there, right? Let's go to Ireland. What the fuck did the English do to the Irish, right? Okay, and you could, throw that shit on them. But you got to get through it. You got to pull up your bootstraps and get going and start making and creating a better life. People don't like the other other part too is when the treaties were signed, they were signing to join Canada, right? They to join Canada. They also signed over all of their rights. It's right there in the treaty. And it is a horrible thing. I mean, I am not Indigenous, I'm Irish. Um, mm, Irish, English, and maybe, a Frenchman decided to come in somewhere. Uh, as Frenchmen usually do. You know, but it's that way of stepping into and saying, we're not going to do this anymore. There is Métis housing for Indigenous people. Good, bad. I've heard good things. I've heard bad things about it. Many live in the Métis housing. Uh, it's one of those. Many have. Also with low income housing, but low income housing isn't there for you to stay. It's kind of like um it's a place where if you really want to build your abundance up, right? And go to school, unless there is a disability. If person has a disability and is on AISH or really needs that help, definitely. That's, like, no. If, even with seniors, if there's, with seniors, because seniors are going to be, yeah, there's a lot of wealthy elbows up people, baby boomers, but there's also a lot of that are not and that are living off 1700 or less a month, right? And some of them are unable not to get a job, right? So there's, this is why when with our society, and this is where our values come in. What do we value? If we don't value the people around us, if we don't value them and try to help them and uplift them, then as a society as a whole, which we are seeing, collapses, it falls apart, right? I had some shocking shit happen to my ancestors. It stopped with my nan. She taught us through love. It just takes one person. It does. And that's what I've seen. I've seen fabulous, artists and um even business people who are First Nation, who've taken that step to create something more for themselves. And I think that's for all of us, and this is, or the next 7 years between Chiron and Taurus and Uranus and Gemini, we're in for a hell of a ride in this world. We're in for a ride that is going to really throw things up in the air and really shake the foundation and take the foundation in a way that it's Uranus, you never know what the fuck's going to happen. And it's going to be where it's like, okay, let's start taking that responsibility. Because when I can take responsibility for myself and do what I need for myself and my family, I can do something for someone else, right? But if that's not what's happening, if I'm just for me in an egotistical way and this is where the spiritual part comes in, because the spiritual part, when it comes in, it doesn't say you have to be down and out and poor and lacking, right? That's not, it does not say that. That's not part of being spiritual. Part of spirituality is taking the accountability, understanding what's gone in, look at your shame and blame and guilt. I got it. We all have it in some degree. Take a look at that shit, right? Sometimes we don't want to. Let's put the fucking shit over there. But take what we can and start to build what we want to build and move from there. And it could be something very little. And that's the energies that we're moving in and starting the shifts, that are coming in. And then we have the square, the Pluto and Chiron square over the coming years will expose where we've given our power away to the collective expectations. Pluto, because the fixed signs square each other, right? And Pluto's in Aquarius, that's a fixed sign, and it's in Taurus, so it's going to square. It's going to be Chiron's going to be yay me and in opposition to me. Am I? Yeah. Yay. Uh, so we have this energy of coming in for accountability. Healing comes from returning into what is authentic, not trendy, not popular, authentic, coming into our true authentic selves. And Saturn and Neptune in Aries, for the first time, Saturn and Neptune in Aries without Chiron. Something entirely new is beginning. Old wounds around identity are no longer leading the story. So the woke society, this is where you're going to see a huge shift within the woke society of the whole thing of the green, blue, turquoise, rainbow colored hair and transgender and whatever else that comes out of it. That's not going to be the leading story anymore because people aren't going to give a fuck about it. And the reason they're not going to give a fuck about it is because they're starting to look at something entirely new. What do you truly want to create? Right? And can you build it without needing everyone's approval? Elon Musk did not ask for anybody else's fucking approval. And everybody's shitting on him because he's a trillionaire. Donald Trump did not ask for anybody else's fucking approval. At all. We see it. Carney didn't ask for your approval. Obviously, he's our prime minister. Got in there. Wasn't even elected. Never even held a seat in government before in Canada. But hey, that's the thing. You can shit on them. You can fucking hate them. Right? But at the end of the day, look at yourself. Start doing your thing. People might look at you and say, well, you can't do that. You're not this. You're not that. Well, maybe not to you in your eyes, but to me in my own eyes, I'm seeing I'm a beauty queen. And I'm going to step out and be a beauty queen, right? I want to see activists held accountable for all the children that have ruined that they have ruined. Definitely. Definitely to be something when they were trying to figure out who they are. Absolutely. I mean, the what is it? Oh my god. The AK Ultra files. I mean, a lot of that stuff is old, but I think that's what they did to us over the psyops, the whole psyops that happened in 2020, right? That was an AK Ultra. Definitely. And there's still people that are in that fucking loop, right? You see them. It's just like when I see people wearing a fucking mask, I'm like, why? Why are you wearing a fucking mask? Like, that is utterly ridiculous. Unless you are, I don't know, your immune system is so shot and you're in a wheelchair but you have a special mask on anyways with oxygen. You know? That I think is like, ah, I want to go pull the mask off. But it's, yeah, there's that. energy that's coming in. I often work from policies that sometimes it is better to beg for forgiveness instead of asking for permission. Yeah, and we're coming into that even more. We're coming into that even more, right? And it's like that the hantavirus or whatever the fuck it was called. Soon as things were being exposed, it disappeared. It disappeared, right? And that's the whole thing. Is like soon as things when people are calling accountability, oh well, it's gone. Poof, it goes away, right? And that's and that's with Chiron coming in and then squaring over to Pluto. Pluto in Aquarius is one that digs up points of a point of a point of a point of a point, right? And the huge long thread that comes in, right? And it's in Aquarius, which is the mad scientist. It's the I know energy. It is the energy of humanity, right? That's what Aquarius is. And it's the one that, oh well, let me see what everybody else is doing before I do it. And now Chiron's coming into Taurus and squaring over there. It's like, why are you waiting for anybody else to do it? Why don't you just get off your fucking ass and do it? Right? I did that and I felt bad after because he was old. What? Oh, I missed something there. What did you do to the old person, Charlene? But sometimes just because somebody's old, here's the thing. I'm old, right? Just because somebody's old and people are like, oh, he's such a cute that old man was probably a fucking asshole back in high school or something else, he could have been a real jerk. Coughed because he was wearing a mask. You know, that's the whole thing. It's like people are people. Just because they're old doesn't mean that they're wise or they have their shit together, you know? Near my face. Let them know I'm not the one to fuck with. He coughed because he was wearing a mask. Still, put your elbow up. And you're coughing into a mask, then you're breathing that shit back in. That's just like even more fucking ridiculous. I just I just can't. I just can't. Right. You know, but that's the whole thing. Is like you see it a lot like in Vancouver, with people in van. And sometimes in some of the more woke cities and stuff in democratic cities, liberal cities, you see it. I think there's a real change. This is where the shift when planets do big shifts like that, especially planets that are in a sign for a long time. Like Jupiter's in a sign for a year, Saturn's in there for about 2.5 years, right? So you have planets that are coming into signs for a long time. So this and in fixed signs too. So this is where when things come into these fixed signs, that means that there's going to be changes that are going to happen. And these changes that happen are going to be very fundamental because they're going to the root cause of the shit that's going on. Watching the signing, and it was funny watching the signing of Trump at Versailles. Versailles was the place where the Germans surrendered, right? And they signed over and they surrendered. Trump, yeah, there's something, and JD Vance coming out and saying all these things about the prime minister of Netanyahu, whatever, of Israel and stuff. There's something really weird there that's going to be happening. I already said there's something weird that's going to be happening with Trump's family and stuff in August. And then with JD Vance coming out and saying a lot of things. So there's going to be something there that's it's going to be very interesting. And I already said that Israel could be the new Nazis, right? Just there is something there that I felt with Netanyahu where they did something. I just went, whoa, that was a very that was, yeah, very Hitler kind of thing to do, right? I wouldn't do it at a hospital or something where people are actually sick. But if someone is standing beside me, outside, young and healthy. I'll sneak in a cough. When we go to our doctor's office, he has us wear a mask. It's funny. I usually have it below my nose, but that's just his policy. He's from Nigeria. He's quite funny. But it's whatever. It's but that's the whole thing. It's like the changes that are coming in are going to be very dramatic. What happened in Russia is very interesting. I don't know what Putin's going to do, or if Putin have the balls anymore? Has Putin softened and he can't do what he wants to do for whatever reason? So we'll see there. So we have that. And Mars is in Taurus with Chiron as well. So Chiron, Mars wants action. Mars wants to do things. If something isn't manifesting, instead of forcing harder, where do I doubt myself? Where am I overcompensating? Where do I secretly feel the lack? And what gifts or talents have I not fully owned? Healing is it healing isn't found in becoming somebody else. It's found in becoming more fully yourself. And that's where this is coming in. It's like we're stepping into your true authentic self, right? And Virgo South Node, it's today asks us to release the hamster wheel, the perfectionism, the endless analyzing. Nobody is grading your life. Only you are grading your life. Nobody's thinking about you nearly as much as you imagine they are. As I taught in Journey Club, there's 1,000 people out there who will have 1,000 different opinions of you, and they are meaningless, right? People are drawn to authenticity, not to perfectionism. And that age of, oh, look at me on Instagram, and oh, look what I'm eating, we're going to see things really shift and change into that. And I also said, there's also that part where I mentioned about we're going to see more clean shaven men, not so much the bearded man as what we've seen in the last little while, but we're going to see a lot more clean shaven and more dressed men, sort of like put together without showing their ass crack, unless they're a plumber, or a welder or somebody who bends over a lot doing their work. Maybe I'll see more ass crack there. But we're going to see a lot more of men coming and putting themselves together. Of course, this is not happening right away. We have this, 7 years, 2.5 years stint that's going to be happening with the changes that are unveiling for ourselves as well, right? So we need to stay in our own lane. We have no power. The power is next door. Yeah. So being authentic, being the truth of who you are. I know many of you do that anyways who follow me, because I really to be authentic is to be true. We need the real man, and it's slowly coming back. There's a lot of women haters out there, which is like, what the fuck? Like, get over yourself. I hate men. I could do it all by myself. Well, who's going to be a lonely ass bitch when she's 80, right? Or 60 or 70? Why do you want to do it all by yourself? What good is that leading you? What is that showing you? You're showing to other people like, "Ooh, look at me. I'm so independent." Yet at home I'm eating bonbons and ice cream and crying over my glass of wine. Yeah, whatever. No. You could still be strong and still be authentic and still be beautiful. But that doesn't mean that you give up who you are. Like, being your true authentic self is allowing that person to come in to be their true authentic self as well. For them to be, their strong, dynamic person. Men Men are here to protect women. Men are the protectors. That has all been DNA creation throughout tens of thousands of years. That's the way it is. So this little blip on the spectrum is saying, no, they can't be that anymore. Well, fuck you. I'm sorry. You're going against over 15,000 years of creation of humanity in a blip of a second, saying, well, I can go and get in, self-impregnated, and I can raise this child on my own. Well, we've seen what that does to a kid when they don't have a two-parent family, or at least have the parents involved if they're separated and not being really involved, right? That's the thing, is that it's important to have that established. It's important to have that village for them. So I'm just, yeah, things are shaking up, baby. Things are starting to shake up and gonna get cray cray. Oh, Fridays are usually when they let out the UFO shit. So more UFO shit's probably gonna come out today sometime. So on that note, I have my mini readings going on for the summer. So 20-minute readings. So if you want a 20-minute reading, they're $65, and definitely you can book in and let's connect. If you are just wanting a reading and you don't have time for the one-on-one, I can do a recording. Just send me your questions and information, and I will get back to you. Right? We need real men. Yeah. So I'm going to send you guys out with so much love today on this Friday. Hey, I didn't pull a card. Let me pull a card. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Don't go. Reading, or astrology reading. It all comes together. Like my readings are everything. Like my readings are astrology, tarot. So if you have specific questions, definitely, bring in the tarot, bring in the energies, because planets are going to do what the planets are going to do. So I'm doing these little one-on-one 20 minutes max for 65. I want a full channel. I can't see myself, just everyone else around me. Yeah, that happens a lot too, where it's very easy to see things happening to other people, but not our own selves. That's why I do go to other astrologers and stuff that I know that do like quick little mini readings and stuff. Haven't done one for a long time because I'm poor right now. All righty. Bum, 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 bum. It's the Fool card. Starting off on a new journey. What a day. Friday. Start off on a new journey. You have what it takes. You have everything in your satchel, right? You have the beautiful rose, right? So it's allowing yourself to trust in that next step, right? Allowing yourself to take that next step. And the other part with the Fool is where you are now. You have so much experience, right? You already have the experience. And with that, this is where the Two of Cups reversed. This is where you're trying to make things happen where they probably don't need to happen. And that's where I feel like, with, the Fool, Two of Cups reversed. Oh, and then I got the Hierophant reversed. So in the Hierophant reversed, had the Hierophant reversed the other day. This is where it's like, with this energy that's coming in, it's very much the Chiron entering into Taurus, right? Stepping into a new chapter while releasing old patterns around love, belonging, and what you've been taught. This is where it's like if you've been taught certain things in your life and belief systems that you're carrying on, it's a new way. There's new openings that's coming, a fresh start. Where blah, where are you being invited to take a leap of faith, right? And with the Two of Cups, it's I feel like it's an imbalance. There's some kind of imbalance. The healing isn't found in chasing others, it's found in returning to yourself. And I feel like with the Hierophant reverse, it's a liberation. There's a liberation there. You don't have to follow everyone else's path. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do the things that they say you have to, traditionally, right? Go back to church, every Sunday, do this, do that. The Hierophant reversed says, your soul already knows. You already know. Trust in this new journey. This reminds you that your journey may look different than what society, family, or other experts say it should look like. And that's okay. It's yours. It's your life. It's your routine. Step into that, right? I trust in the new path unfolding before me. I release relationships and beliefs that keep me disconnected from myself and no longer seek permission to be who God created me to be. Your soul is your compass, right? Walk forward with faith. Walk forward with that energy and know that this is allowing for you to depart from the old story and start a new chapter. And that's what the Chiron is doing, is getting you to step into the new chapter. Fun times are ahead, my loves. So if you're wanting a reading, definitely get a hold of me. And I do have some time. I do have a spot tomorrow afternoon. And I'm booking into next week. And Sunday, I have my Sunday reset at 1:00 on YouTube. So blessings, everybody. May the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you and all you say and all you be and all you do. Have a blessed day. Get out there, get some DNA, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.